Welcome to A View from the Summit, where we explore the unique relationships between animals and humans, whether it's an Olympic partner or couch buddy, a working companion or unique pet, a world champion or someone you think the world of. Join us for a look at animals in our lives. Brought to you by Summit Animal Health. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of A View from the Summit. My name is Steve Searcy and I get to be your co-host. And today we have an extraordinary show. I've used a lot of adjectives because this show is about connection to animals and communication with animals. And we're going to take it to a whole nother level today. So listen up. But before we do that, I get to introduce my co-host, Robin Benson, who's way up there where Nanook is her neighbor. That's how far north she is up there in Minnesota. And you know, when she needs salt or something from a neighbor, she has to go to an igloo and knock on the door. But anyway, Robin, are you still sunbathing up there in Minnesota?
Well, we bring our own sun around here these days because it is cloudy. That's what we were talking about earlier. We're wearing bright colors because you kind of have to make your own light. It's really gray and cloudy. It's a little warm now, but it's getting colder. It's kind of one of those yucky days. So we just have to be extra sparkly from the inside, right?
Oh
But
my
I am.
gosh, extra sparkly from the inside. Oh my God.
I know. Sorry.
Oh, how did you let that out?
Right. Sorry. Okay, you all, if you're watching and listening, you will know firsthand. You heard it here. You saw it here. We are a little silly, but this is real life, y'all. Like, this is what we do. So buckle up. We're going to have a fun show that's not scripted. We follow the energy and we just roll with it because everybody here, this is the real deal. And we are all about sharing.
Tell me what we're all about. I've been waiting for this all my life. Lay it on me, Robin.
You got it. Here
Come
we
on.
go. Here we go. Listen up, Steve. We're all about the extraordinary connections, as Steve said, between animals and their humans. And I like to put it that way because for so many of us, our animals are truly, they've saved our life. They've given us purpose. They've healed us. We've had so many guests on the show who said, I started as a young kid. I was awkward. I was challenged in many ways. And through animals, horses, dogs, zebras, capybaras, whatever animal it is, alligators, literal tigers, we've had them all. I found my voice, or I found my purpose, or I was able to find a career, or I was able to find confidence. So it's a beautiful journey. And yes, I am up here and way up north in Minnesota. And today our guest, Jess Wieser, is also, she's not quite so far north, but pretty close, North Dakota. She's a good friend of mine who has truly a gift with this connection with animals. And like you say, we've heard so many different guests share about how they talk to horses, communicate with dogs, how they connect with crocodiles. I don't quite get that connection, but some people truly do talk to crocodiles. And
one-armed people.
One-armed people. Well, you'll have to listen to that episode to know. But seriously, in all seriousness, we're not going to be serious today because we just can't be. But I am so honored to have you on the show, Jess. I know sometimes this is, not what you normally do. We love the fact that you have joined us because if you have an animal today, you understand that sometimes you just have that feeling where you're sitting next to your dog and you're like, they talk to you, right? You just sense it. Your dog, your cat, your rabbit, horse, whatever the animal is. And if you're an animal lover, you get it. So thank you, Jess, for jumping on here. We are honored you're here and we're excited. This is going to be a fun episode.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. And so I want to kick it off. Just let us know, tell us a little bit about you. You're a cowgirl at heart. You live in North Dakota. You grew up with animals. Tell us a little bit about, so we know who you are. I know who you are, but so our guests and our listeners know who you are.
Well, I'm a mom. Like you said, I'm a cowgirl. I'm a mom. My passion is horses. I'm Yeah, they're my therapy for me as well as many other people. Um, I'm only probably 30 miles from where I grew up. I have met my husband out west and brought him this way, Western North Dakota, that is, and brought him this way. So we have a beautiful place. We have a beautiful home, and I have a loving family, and yeah, and I get to do this work that just came to me. Like I mean, I always knew I had a gift as a child. Like I knew there was something there, but I suppressed it for so many years. My dad is old school cowboy, and I remember, like I was thinking about this, our conversation that we were gonna have, and I was driving home, and I was like, you know, I remember times when they were working with my brothers or my dad were working with certain horses, and I'd be like, no, you can't do it that way. That horse is not, but I didn't think anything of it, right? I was young, I was a kid, and I didn't know anything according to them, right? And my brother, the same thing. He would be like trimming feet, and I'd be like, "You can't do that to this horse." And yeah, they didn't listen to me. But I learned, right? I did a bunch of work on myself. Started probably 10 years ago, and really got to the deep roots of me, like all the things, all my patterns that needed to be broken that were not helping me in any way. And so I opened myself up. And when I opened myself up energetically like that, this stuff just came into me. I don't know how else to explain it. I was working with a mentor, and he said to me, he said, "Why don't you just ask the horse?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Ask the horse the question. Do your thing." And I was like, okay. And so then from then on, it was like it opened a whole window, and I actually can hear voices now. Before it wasn't like I didn't necessarily hear voices, but now I literally can hear them speaking the English language to me, right? It's that transfer of energy comes through, and that's how it comes up for me. And I know there's lots of people that do it differently, but yeah, mine is all self-taught. I went to equine massage school, probably 20 years ago. And that lady, I remember specifically that lady telling me, "You worked on my 3 horses, and they've all been abused, and they don't just let people in, and you've got a gift." And I thought, oh yeah, that's great. Ha ha ha. And then now I get it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, she knew something else was there too that I hadn't uncovered yet and wasn't ready to see yet. So that's how it all started. Just
Was it the first time you heard a voice from a horse? Was it startling? Did you go, whoa?
um, I don't know. It was like second nature. By that
Yeah.
time I had done the work, and it was like, oh yeah, now this is happening. Because that's happened to me a lot, like where I'll be working on things on myself, and then something will happen and be like, yep, okay, yep, bring it. Just keep bringing it. And I know this gift came from God. Like this is a gift from God, and I am very, very um aware of that, right? And I thank him daily. And he he speaks to me through them, right? So yeah,
So
it was second nature.
so you've been talking about you had to work on yourself first. What does that mean?
Mhm.
What
So I went through a group called the Originators. It's 2 sisters, and I started doing self work through them. So we started by balancing emotions, and which I do to the animals, like I can balance their emotions. Um, so we started balancing our own emotions, and then opening up ourselves and like digging into, like I did a class called Deprogram, where you deprogram all those patterns that maybe were passed down to you from your parents, or generations back, or things that you have made up in your head that you think are truth. And just started decoding those and breaking those patterns down. And so that's the kind of work I did. And then you keep doing it, right? Like now that I'm this deep, you just keep going deeper. You just keep going deeper. And you're like, oh, it's almost like an addiction too. You're like, okay, I can't stop now. I got to go further. There's more here. And I'm aware, like there is more coming down the pipe. Sometimes you hit the pause button just because life gets in the way, right? And we're human. But continuing to do the work is just going to keep opening up other doors and other avenues. And other things are going to come around that you weren't expecting.
So we love stories, but before we get into a bunch of really cool stories, how did your family respond when you started really owning this gift and acting on it and doing it and using it and making it your profession to help others, other horses, applying it to the horses?
So my husband has always been a huge sport. He never questioned me once. He doesn't understand it, but he doesn't question it because he's seen it. Like he's seen it in action, right? And same with my son is gifted. There is something energetically there. He's not ready to see it yet, so it'll show up when it needs to show up. Actually, the brother I thought was going to be a little bit harder because he's a little bit more hard himself, right? His exterior shell is harder. He believes in me 110%. And the other brother is the skeptic. Although I showed him, I worked on one of his horses and he saw the transformation, he saw the change, and he was like, okay, I believe you now. And the last person was my dad. Like I was nervous to even talk about it in front of him. I didn't talk about it in front of him for quite a while. And then one day he point blank asked me, he was like, what is it that you really do? And I was like, well, okay, I'll be completely honest with you. I said, I can communicate with animals. I said, I can talk to them. I hear them talk to me. And yeah, I can help heal them and we can work together and to make them better. And he's like, really? He said, well, you have to be with them, right? And I'm like, nope, I just need a picture. I like to be with them because it's fun for me to see that. But he said, I just need a picture and a name and who they belong to, and then I can make that connection. And he's like scratching his head like, oh, really? So he asks me every once in a while, how's it going? How's it going? Like, you have lots of, his thing is like, he was a salesman by trade and owned a carpet store. So like, he always thinks about the bottom dollar. And for me, that's not what it's about. Or I wouldn't be doing this, right? Like, it's not about the money. I would do my work for free. I really would, because I get so much back out of it. In appreciation from the animal, from the person, the whole ball of wax, and the connections that I have, like meeting Robin. What a blessing that has been. And I have met numerous people that now I'm really close friends with because of this gift. And so that's been really beautiful.
That's awesome. So like you say, there's the skeptics, and the cowboy world is kind of like, okay, whatever. And I know, like, when we first connected and you were going to come work on some of our horses, and I told my husband, and he's like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he saw it, and I want to share this story real quickly, or you can share it. But from our end, it was like, wow. So our niece connected us, and she had a horse that we had bought from her. And this horse, Jess, you had worked on the horse at her house. And then several months later, so you knew the horse, but here you hadn't ever been to our place or worked on anything of ours. But my niece was like, if you guys don't mind, I can have my friend Jess help him, because his jaw, he had had a tooth, a cap. He was a 3-year-old, coming 3-year-old. He had a cap that was wedged in his gums. So his whole jaw had gotten twisted. Like the lower jaw was literally this far off to one side because of the pressure from the cap. So we had his teeth worked on and the cap pulled out and his teeth were better, but his jaw was still out of whack, which obviously isn't good when you go to train one and ride one. And I like to eliminate all the problems. So my niece was like, well, you know, I can have Jess fix him. And I'm like, well, when's she going to come? She's like, she doesn't have to. And I'm like, okay. And I believe faster. And Al was like, whatever. I don't care. Whatever you girls want to do. I'm like, okay. Well, I told Carla, I said, just have her work on him, whatever she needs to do. I don't know. I'm open. And so I don't know. It was like a week later, I get a text from our niece and she said, go out and she said, Jess touched base with him last night. So I ran out right then to check him in the pasture. And his jaw was straight. And I'm like, Al, come here. You have to see this. Come look at this. So when he saw it, he's like, okay, I believe it now. And then we had you come out to our house to work. He's like, let's have her come work on all of them. Because we have some, you know, everybody has a special case and we care about, want to know and want to give them the best. And we use them. We use them for cattle. So definitely, like you say, sometimes it's hard for people to truly wrap their head around it, right? Because until they see it. But when you see it, it's like, wow. So tell us a story. We love stories, but tell us a story that like comes to mind or comes to your heart where you feel like it was a way that, you know, one that just comes, well, you'll share the best story. I know you will. Share the first story that pops in your head that you want to share with us about some work you've done that's just super impactful.
Oh gosh. Okay, so if you want to know the honest truth, one of the first ones that comes up right now is Paku, your horse, Paku. Because for me, that was so emotionally moving. So their young horse had been out on the range and he had gotten left out there he was a yearling, right?
He was a yearling colt, yeah, and he got lost for months by himself.
By himself.
Like 30,000 acres.
So they were like, okay, he's not very trusting and whatever. And I approached him that way and I was like, I'm just here to help you. Please know I'm here to help you. And after I got my hands on him, he settled in. And by the end of that session, he unloaded everything on me. Like I was able to see all the things he had went through. Like he had fought off animals to survive. Like the stuff he survived, he'd fallen down the side of a cliff, you know, with rocks and all sorts of stuff and survived that. And then he survived being run off by, was it a mountain lion, I think? Irregardless, multiple things happened to this poor yearling as he was out there and he was in survival mode, hardcore. So by the end of the time, he had shown me all of this stuff and I was weeping and he was licking and chewing and his eye changed and he just transformed right before us. So that was one of the most beautiful moments because he was a different horse after that.
Yeah, like we watched you just tear up. I mean, we had to take lunch break after that horse because it was so emotional for everybody. I mean, and he's such a cool horse. We love him to death, but we put him back in the pen and he stood there with his head hanging over the rail, like relaxed, probably for the first time since he got lost. His ears were like, and his eyes were like this much wider and all the wrinkles were gone. It was unreal. And he's been a different horse literally since that day. And it was pretty incredible to watch the transformation. But on that note, what does it do to you? Like you have a maximum you'll work on during the day, right? Because it's so draining, right?
It used to be real hard for me to work on, like I would take everything in. So just a little side story. I used to go to this place. It was a big barrel race. They had a series and I would walk into that building and I would be like my body would just be vibrating And I would go home after that weekend of barrel racing there, and I would just have to sleep like the whole next day. And that was before I knew how to like keep that stuff at bay, right? Not take everything in. And at that time, when I would walk into a building, horses would like start talking, or I just energy, just the weight of it was so heavy, so heavy. And so I learned how to control that. And so that's been a lot better. But you're right, I will only do like 6 or 8 horses a day just because I feel like that's when I'm my best. And I'm not willing to, just to make the extra dollars, compromise that. I want to be at my best. And so when I do 6 or 8, I'm tired because at the end of the day, I just ran all that energy through me, right? But it's not like it used to be. I'm able to, like, the next day I'm my normal self, right? You'll sleep good that night, but yeah,
So
I guess that's
that. So you work on them energetically, but also you massage and
physically, yeah.
physically adjust them too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
Jess, has a dog or anything ever spoken to you that you've
Yes.
heard?
Oh yeah. Yep. I've connected with dogs. I've connected with cats. Those are the 3 animals that anybody has ever contacted me about. So yeah, cats are a whole different breed, but yeah.
What kind of a voice does a cat have? I mean, we are Siamese. I mean, I don't know.
Right? Well, okay, so that's what's funny. People like friends of mine would be like, what does my horse sound like? Or what does my dog sound like? Or, and it's funny because it comes through me. Like I can tell you like, oh, it's a deeper voice. And if I go to try and talk like that, it doesn't come out right. But so they all have, like, you might think a cat's always like got that high pitch, but they don't. Like I've talked to a cat it was very like, there's a cartoon character that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I can't think of it, but very like debonair, or like professional sounding, or some of them have like an accent of some sort. Like it's just sophisticated would be a good word. Yeah. So that's how it comes through to me, like that tone. So every one of them is different. Everyone, and some horses you might think are going to be like this deep voice, and they might be really high pitched, or the dog too.
So do all the horses open up to you? I mean, obviously you're channeling your energy and you've done the work, but some of the horses have been through a lot themselves and they haven't done the work. So how do you approach that?
So sometimes it takes more than one time, right, to make that connection deep enough where you can really, really help them. But I've gotten to where I know when that is too. Like, okay, so yesterday I went and worked on a dog that was abandoned, and they like just literally kicked him out the door of the car and left him. And anyways, obviously he's in survivor mode as well. And these people have had him since August. And he has randomly attacked other dogs and growled at people. And I'm like, okay. And so she explained to me the situation. I'm like, okay, he's just in survival mode, and he's protecting her. He's protecting their place. Like they're coming onto his property, right? So we did a bunch of work, and I said to her, okay, this is not going to be a one-time thing. And I don't like to have to tell people that, like, but if it is, it is, right? And so I actually got further into him than I thought I was going to. And he brought me to tears too. A lot of times that doesn't happen anymore, but yeah, he brought me to tears too. And I got to see, like, there were kids and they were pulling on his tail. And then when they kicked him out of the car door, I just was devastated for him. And he would flash from like super friendly and sweet in his eyes to instantly on guard and very serious. In fact, I had to sit there. I sat there on the floor with him so that he felt safe, and I let him come like right up to me. And he would wag his tail, and then I would put my hand on him, and if the energy got too much, he would growl. Not raise his lips, nothing, just a little growl. And I'm like, buddy, it's okay. You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you. And I trust you. And so he did that multiple times. And then he would go back, and then he'd come back, and then he was submissive. He would lay on his back and let me scratch his belly. So I was like, okay, this is huge. I don't know how you feel, talking to his owner, but this is big. This was big. There was a lot of energetic shifting going on. And I was tired after him yesterday because it did take a lot to get through to him. Like I had to hold such an even energy for that whole period of time. Because if you got your energy up a little bit, that's when he went into survivor mode, right? So I'm trying to help her work through those behavioral issues with him. So I balanced his emotions, and we started there, and he let me do that. And so, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that one ends up.
Have you ever had this communication with people?
I read people. I can read people. They don't necessarily it doesn't come across the same way, but I can read if they're trustworthy. I can, my spidey sense will go off like a radar, like immediately if I know that, oh, I'm not going to get involved with that person, right? They're not.
Obvious you made an exception today.
Oh yeah. I was real worried about you.
Yeah. Okay, Robin, but it's breaking a rule. It's breaking a rule.
Right?
Yep.
Exactly. So have you, you focus on horses, but
yep.
Do you kind of just go where people need you, or do you focus on performance horses, or have people from rescues asked you to help them with transitioning their horses?
No.
Kind of all of it?
I would do it all. I am literally just here, and I only word of mouth, guys. I'm a terrible advertiser, and I just don't feel like that's not me. So I don't do that. Right. So it's all word of mouth. So people, I feel like they'll come to me when they need me. They'll find their way to me, or I'll find my way to them. So yeah, I have not had to work on any rescue horses. I would be totally up for that. I mean, we've had our own horses here that have come and have been basket cases and different things, but yeah, that would be cool.
I can just imagine as such a great assistance to those horses when they're being rehabbed,
Yeah.
Work through. And I've just seen you help the horses release all of that trauma. Now, some of them don't want to release it as much. Like we have one who's just not willing to let it go yet. But if what a help that would be to the horses and to the people that have them, right? I mean, just thinking, we get some people, we've had some guests on the show who have horse rescues, and just thinking about all of that and what a next level benefit it could be, really to help the horse have a better life, later.
Absolutely.
And fit with the right people.
That's absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So on a performance level though, like if you go into a barn and it's a performance barn, I know this might be a tricky kind of question, but you're there for the horses, right? And you just do, is there ever a time when you have to juggle what you do for what the owner wants, or maybe the horse doesn't like where they are and you can only do so much, or how does that work? I mean, that's maybe not the maybe as fun side, but it's such a real part of horses nowadays in barns.
It is. Yeah, for sure. So I've gotten at first I'm a truth teller, right? So I have to speak the truth, and I have to speak the truth for them. I am working on behalf of them. And there were times when I originally would like try to fluff the situation or make it a little softer. And I've gotten to the point where I have to tell it like it is. I have to tell it like it is, whether, like, I had to tell a person one time that your horse is not happy and you need to make a better connection. And by connection, I said to her, I mean an emotional connection. You brush her, you take care of her, you groom her, you ride her, you do all the things, but you're emotionally disconnected. And I said, in order to get things better, you need to make that connection. And she looked at me. I mean, I've been back there once. So it might not have been what she was ready to hear, but I had to say it. So
do the horses ever say, I don't like this guy, get me a different owner?
No, I have never had that happen, because I fully believe that the people that bring me their horses are a different type of person, right? Like so this happened to me at a barrel race one time. I was walking out, going to get my horse or whatever, and this girl couldn't get this horse in the arena. And she got DQ'd because, they gave her like, I don't know, 5 minutes. It seemed like. I was like, holy cow, it was heartbreaking. And so I walked right by this horse, and he was like, I hate her, or I don't like, I'm not happy, basically.
Whoa.
He was ticked off. And I was like, whew. I said, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know you, and I don't know your owner, and I have to have that permission in order to say the things, right? And this young girl obviously didn't care, wasn't going to listen to me anyways, even if I would have said something. So I was like, whew, that was heavy. But that's the only time that that's ever happened. Usually the people that bring their animals to me, those animals know that they are so deeply loved that they know they're in the right spot. Yeah.
That has to be at least a good feeling, where you're talking to
yes.
them. There's so many out there that don't have that caring. So
yeah,
man, it's cool that you get to, on behalf of the animal, work in that kind of environment with all kinds of horses. So what types of horses have you worked on? Barrel horses and ranch horses and
rope horses, show horses, just trail horses. Like a lot of the I've actually worked on some ranchers horses from around here, and those guys, those are the tough ones. Like, but they've heard from other people that I'm good at what I do, so we're gonna try it. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. I'd love to help, So then they come. Yeah. So then they come, they bring their horses, and usually they're kind of hot messes through their body because they get pushed through the ringer. And these guys they're not into like taking their horse to the, massage therapist or whatever, monthly or weekly or whatever, yearly, I guess I should say. Not even a year. Like a couple of these horses have never been touched before. And I don't push people to come, come as you know. If you know your horse, you'll know when they need to come back. That's what I always say. So yeah, these old guys, they come to me, and by the time they leave, they love me. And I'm like, yes, this is part of my gift. Like those tough, rough and tough guys, I can woo them. I can make them my friend because they see I'm genuine, right? And they see that I speak truth, and they appreciate that. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. It is what it is.
Have you found, is there a particular type of horse, a show jumper, reiner, that's more difficult to connect with, or are they all just horses?
No, I would say it just depends on their personality, right? It's not the discipline. Has nothing to do with the discipline. It's just the personality. And some horses are just a little tougher to get through than others, and others of them. But most horses are very spiritually open. Out of all the animals I worked on, horses are the easiest because they're like little open books. They just want, most of the time, they just want you to help them. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you find their resistance to help comes from past trauma or from age or from their personality or a combination?
I would say a combination. And sometimes it's the owner. So I worked on a horse one, I could tell stories all day. I worked on a horse one time that I could feel that the owner wasn't completely open and didn't completely trust me. And it was like sending it down the lead rope. And I just wanted somebody else there to take that lead rope. Like, that was when I first started. And now I would say, let me take the horse, or why don't you just walk away? Because I can't help if you're stopping it at the end of the lead rope there, you know? And some horses, they have that deep of a connection with their owners, right? Some of them don't, but yeah, this particular horse did.
Tell us another story. These are too good. Tell me a story. I won't go to sleep, I promise.
Okay.
He doesn't snore that loud.
Okay, this one's way from early on, and it's I don't even know if I've told you, Robin. This one is a little bit, this will really tip the scale for you. So I was at a facility working on a horse. It was actually doing a demonstration. And I was working through this horse, and I got to this spot, and I was moving my hands, and I was like, what is happening? This horse started like sweating and like then shaking, like it was cold, shivering. And the owner was like, what's going on there? I'm like, it's okay. We just need to move this spot. Just keep working. And we're going to move that on out. And it took a while, but I got there. And then I left, and I was like, what in the world just happened? So I called my mentor, Carl, and I was like, what did I just do? And he's like, oh, you just took a demon out of that horse. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no way. Like, he's like, nope, that's what you did. You removed a dark entity from that horse, and good job. You were able to do it and flush it out, and the horse will be better because of it. So that's something, that one's harder for me to talk about. I'm proud of it because I'm like, holy crap, I did that.
That's awesome. No,
And
you haven't
since
told
then,
me that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Since then, it's happened a couple of times. It's not very often, and it's not like they're like possessed or anything like that. This horse was totally fine. She just had a lot of anxiety and some nervousness, and it was just weird how I could just feel this entity just moving and moving and moving and moving with my hands, and I was finally able to get it out of her body. So
And
yeah.
then after that, was she a lot better, a lot more relaxed?
Yep.
That's
Yes.
so cool. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, so my dog, I've got rescue dogs. My rescue dog, Joe.
Yep.
Joe's right here. He's a big old guy, and he's wonderful, but he's scared of stairs.
Oh,
He will not go upstairs. Now
really?
he'll go up the porch, like the 4 or 5, but like I want him to sleep in bed with me. He's a great big guy that would just be wonderful. He stands at the bottom and whines and cries.
Oh. So yeah, so he's right there. Yeah.
You'll have to show her, Joe, stand up and be seen.
Joe,
Yeah.
Joe, come here, Joe. Come here, Joe. Hold on. Come here, Joe. Joe, come here. Here, wait, Joe, wait, Joe. Oh well, Joe.
He's
Joe.
like,
now there he
There's
is.
Joe.
oh, Joe, you're so handsome.
Oh, he's wonderful. He is
Oh, look at you.
He is incredibly smart. I mean,
Hmm.
he just thinks, but that and we tried, I thought, okay, we'll put some treats halfway up the steps, or
Hmm.
my middle son tried to carry him up the steps, and oh my Lord, that was,
He
yeah,
lost his marbles, huh?
he had lost his marbles. So Joe, talk to her, would you? So I understand. Say something,
He
Joe.
might be shy on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times,
Have
like
to-
there's too much going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Well,
Yep.
connect you afterwards, and
yeah,
then
Yes.
he's got the other rescue is by him, and they play all the time. So
Yeah. 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 No, I would love to help Joe.
yeah.
he's pretty cool. Yeah, and it's incredible, like it once you connect to see.
Do horses ever like call out like, "Hey, lady, over here"? I mean, do they sense that you can talk to them?
They, okay, so yes, they can sense that I can talk to them, but I have gotten really good at, like, if I'm not in a facility that I'm working on horses or doing the work, if I'm there participating or watching my son or whatever, I kind of like tune it out because otherwise I would be overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't good. So I had to learn how to just, if I'm asked, then it comes in.
Do you ever work with horses that are dying?
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
me, tell
Yeah.
me, tell me about that.
So like just the other day, a horse had to be euthanized. And so they wanted me to connect with this horse and make sure that that horse knew that they loved her and that they were so happy they got to spend the time with her. They're sorry that that time got cut short. She was only 5. So she was young and she had a freak accident and fractured her hock in multiple places. So there was no, and they had asked, do you think there's a way you could be okay again? And she said she would try, but she was in a lot of pain. And at the end of the day, she was like, I'm in a lot of pain and I just don't see how, you know? So that, and I've had to tell people, like, they've called about their dogs. Can you tell me if my dog is ready? Sure, sure, yes, I can do that. So then you connect with the animal and they're like, I'm ready when they're ready, right? And a lot of times it is the owner that they're holding on for. Um, Another friend of mine, well, because they all become friends, right? She had a dog. She had me check in a year ago. She had seizures and whatnot. And I said, well, she's ready to go when your husband's ready to let her go. And they just put her down a year later. She hung on for another year. She recovered from those seizures. She got better where she wasn't going potty everywhere. Um, but she had another seizure here like 2 weeks ago, and it was bad enough where she wasn't coming out of this one, and he knew it, and he still wasn't okay, but he had to be okay. But she held on for a year, and she
That's
said whenever.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's
it's
unbelievable.
crazy what they will do for us. They will, ah, yeah, it's crazy what they will do.
Wow, that is unbelievable, man.
Yeah,
I'm feeling it too.
yeah.
So,
That was Katie's dog, by the way.
oh, for real? Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, I
Yeah,
saw that her dog had just passed, but I didn't realize. Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. That's wow.
yeah. So I've been there through that too. Not right directly as one was passing, other than my own, um, but yeah, able to communicate and let them know that they were loved, and then on the flip side, the animal lets me know that they know, to give some comfort, anyways, to the people.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
It is incredible. And Robin, we've been on here probably too long, but Jess,
Jessica said we can talk and share
listen,
stories all
listen,
day, and you.
this is how we work this, Jess. It's not Robin's fault. It's not my fault. It's your fault for being so darn interested.
You haven't started snoring yet, Steve. So we can
Right?
story.
It's your fault for being so interesting and having such wonderful stories and such a great gift.
We're just gonna have to have you back on the show. That's all. That's the way.
Okay.
This was amazing. Wow. You know me. I'm just like, holy cow, goosebumps over here. But Steve, I guess we better wrap up this episode and then we'll just have to do it again. This is way too much.
We have to do it again. And if people hear this and have an issue with a dog or a cat or a horse, can they reach out to you and for help?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So Robin will put all that, how to get in touch with her in the show notes, I guess. And it's really, this has been so unique and so wonderful. And I have to tell you, I'm not, you put out a lot of good energy. Just that smiley face of yours is just wonderful. And so Robin, you need to study that face with the no sunshine where you are, because there's a lot of sunshine there, I tell you.
Absolutely. We love Jess around here. She is all about the good energy. So thank you, Jess, so much. I will, if you're listening or watching, I will put in the show notes how to connect with Jess if you have an animal that needs some communication or help. And Steve, I'll get you her information for Joe, because Joe probably needs some help with the stairs. Anyway, Jess, it's always a pleasure to get to visit with you. We say it all the time. We live kind of close, but lives get crazy, and we'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much.
I feel like awesome. I feel like I've got a new friend here, and I really appreciate you, Jess. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you have been exposed to something truly unique here today on The View from the Summit, and who knows what will happen next week. So tune in again, and we'll be.
This program is made possible by Summit Animal Health. If you have a dog, cat, or horse with mobility issues, Summit Animal Health has the all-natural, drug-free solution that comes with a satisfaction guarantee. Summit Animal Health products are used by Olympic gold medal equestrians, leading rodeo stars, professional dog trainers and handlers, and people just like you. Whether working companion or couch potato, Summit Animal Health can keep them moving. Check them out online at summitanimals.com. New to Summit? Use the code VIEW15 and receive 15% off your initial order. We'll see you next week for another View from the Summit.